Everyone. In continuation, Mr Harfield.
Thank you, Chair. Just continue on. Just to finish off the air traffic controllers, we've got another 80 coming through for this financial year, so to say, and then after that, our expectations is that we're planning on 80 to 100 each year of operational air traffic controllers to bring on board, which will deal with growth as well as attrition, natural attrition. In regards to the aviation rescue and firefighters, we currently have around about 800 now. We've currently got a course in train of 24 that are in our training facility down in Melbourne, and we'll have another 48 or 2 more courses this year, which will bring it up to 72, and we don't see any slowing down of that into the future for the same reasons of growth as well as attrition.
Okay, excellent. I'm happy to leave it there. I've got some more questions, but I'll put them on notice in the interest of time, Chair.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Senator Brockman. If there's no further questions of Airservices... I'm sorry, Senator White.
Just quickly.
Yes.
Can I just ask you, Airservices, have you recently received a report from PwC into your operations?
From PwC?
PwC? Is it PwC? No?
I'm not sure what. Yeah, Senator, I'm unaware, and I'm not quite sure.
You haven't commissioned PwC to do any work for you recently?
In some managing consulting, but not necessarily in a review into the operations.
So what was the report about then?
We've had a range. We've had them engaged around looking at the digitisation of our back office and looking at the replacement of our enterprise resource planning tool.
So is that likely to have? So that's a IT sort of
correct
review. So is that likely to have some implications for the workforce?
In regards to looking at the digitisation of our back office, is about how do we do things better, but it's the implications for the workforce is how do we actually create more capacity for them. It's not about reducing the number, it's about creating more capacity and productivity within the workforce that we have.
So it's not about outsourcing any of the work, it's just about how IT, is that mostly, or is it about...
In regards to the report that I think that you're talking about is around what we call the digitisation of the back office, we are exploring certain options of how we may do certain functions through a managed service arrangement where we have mature markets to do so, but it's just something to how do we actually do it in a more efficient way. So,
sorry, mature markets to do so, what does that mean?
For example, in the sense of something like certain sort of like finance processing or something like that that we may look at that where economies of scale means that you're able to do it in a more efficient way by getting somebody else to assist you in doing it.
Yeah, I do understand that. So it's about outsourcing work, isn't it?
Potentially if we are, but the one is we've opened up to explore it. We haven't made any decisions around it.
Okay. So have you consulted with the workforce about that mature market outsourcing?
If there is an area that we decide to go down that particular path, we will consult with our staff in accordance with all the agreements before we make the decision.
And have you discussed it with your staff about the results of the report?
In some circumstances where we may be thinking about it, that has been mentioned.
Thank you.
I'd have to give you more detail on specifics.
Yeah, and so just because PwC have been in the news about what they've done, have you carefully looked at what they might have recommended and anybody that might have been a beneficiary of their recommendations and any relationship with those?
Yes, Senator.
You have looked at that closely?
Yes, we have, Senator.
Since the report came out?
Even before the report came out, but particularly when the report came out, we went back through to see whether we got advice from particular areas and whether it could have been... And
whether or not they were recommending
correct.
Other of their clients, correct. Potentially? And yes. You're satisfied that they're not?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator White. Are there any further questions of Airservice? Can I just get an indication, do we still think we'll finish tonight, or do I need to send Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility? We'll finish? Okay, all right, we'll finish.
If not, we'll have a whole day for Northern Australia.
So, okie dokie, Senator Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chair. Mr Harfield, has your chairman, John Webber, met with the Minister?
Yes.
When?
If I recollect, would have been 6 months ago.
6 months ago? So who briefs the Minister on the issues within Airservices Australia?
We will.
Does the department take that responsibility?
The department will provide certain advice, but we will also provide briefings directly to the Minister's office.
So you brief directly, not through the department, sorry.
No, we will brief
So you
directly,
draft a
as well
brief
as
up?
no, we can do brief directly to the Minister's office, and the department would also probably provide a brief as well.
Some commentary alongside
Commentary
that.
or comment. Yep.
Do you get to see that commentary?
Not necessarily, no.
No, but they get to see your brief.
Correct.
Right. How many times have you briefed the Minister since the government came to power?
In regards to different topics, multiple times. In the sense
I'd like
of talking
a
through the.
specific number, thanks, Mr Harfield.
I'd have to take that on notice indirectly to the Minister.
It's not in your folders?
No, it's not, Senator.
To her office?
To our office would be multiple times. We're in regular
Okay,
contact.
multiple times. We're talking 5 times. We've had, thanks to his promotion late this afternoon, Assistant Minister Chisholm will be receiving more briefs than he has in the 12 months, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. But when you say multiple briefs to the Minister, what are you talking, 5, 15, 50? It's 12 months. There's been a few issues. You're talking about investigations.
Correct. So I'd be talking in multiples of tens. There, I'd have to give you this.
So sorry, Mr Harfield. You've been here for a while. You're not a newcomer to Senate estimates. How long have you been in the role of CEO for ASA?
7 years.
7 years.
Yes.
So this is not your first rodeo.
Correct, Senator.
So understanding your relationship with the government of the day and budget expenditure is what estimates is about. Neither you nor anyone around you or behind you or in the room behind all of us has a table that says how many briefs have been sent up to the Minister's office?
Correct. Because are you talking about formal briefs? Are you talking about discussions with the office on particular topics?
I'm not talking about you want to come to the races. I'm talking about there have been significant issues with your organisation, which have been canvassed by this committee for a long time under the current government and the previous government. And I would assume part of your job is to make sure the Minister of the day, whoever that is informed of that.
That's correct.
You've just outlined to the committee that you're under investigation internally and externally. So I think it is very pertinent that this committee understands how many times you have briefed the Minister.
Senator?
And you can't tell me.
I cannot tell you off the top of my head.
Well, that's why we bring papers to these sort of meetings, because no one expects you to remember everything. So when can you get me that?
As soon as practicable.
How many times was the Minister briefed in a formal written brief, and how many meetings have you had with the Minister? So your chairs met once 6 months ago. Is that the extent of the chair's meetings with the Minister?
With the Minister directly.
And with the Minister's office?
There would have been, again, probably off the top of about 3 other times.
Just confirm that on notice.
Yes,
but
please.
Yep, 3 other times. And yourself, how often do you meet with the Minister?
I've met with the Minister twice.
In the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months.
Yep.
And the office directly about 4 or 5 times.
And do you go with the chair?
Where the chair has gone on the occasion. Sorry, the chair on the occasion that I mentioned to the Minister, I have, and probably twice with the chair to the office.
Great. Has the chair ever met with the Minister or the office alone?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, excellent. I would like to now go to questions that I asked the department about the workplace culture within Airservices Australia. Now, there's 14 workers' compensation claims between... Sorry, let me just clarify. Sorry. 39 claims of workers' compensation claims by Airservices Australia staff over a 7.5-month period. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator.
4 were rejected?
Yes.
And how many were successful?
35.
35? Okay. On Aquan, Airservices Australia had 15 claims of bullying that were investigated and found to have merit. Is that correct?
Senator, on that question on notice...
I think it's 3352.
Yeah, I'm just... Is this one? Seven out of the 15.
So sorry, 15
So there was 15
that were investigated,
were investigated and
found to have merit,
So 8 would have been found to have merit.
and 7 were found to have no merit.
Correct.
Right. Would you acknowledge that is an indication of serious problems within Airservices Australia?
Senator, yes, and this is one of the reasons why we did the culture review with Elizabeth Broderick back in 2020, or it came out in 2020, and consistent with that is that one of the findings of there was that people were reluctant to report. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've been doing with those recommendations, and that's one of the reasons why we published the report on our website and made it transparent, and all the actions that we were doing, was so that we could give exposure to this and continue to work on it. And that's why we brought Elizabeth Broderick back after 2 years, who is currently in the organisation at the moment conducting the review on our progress and where we're at, what's worked, what hasn't, and what more do we need to do.
And when's that going to be handed down?
That will be made available in July, August is on track, and as per the thing, we will publish that report and make it public.
Thank you, Mr Harfield. Just noting the Broderick, the first Broderick report was from 2020. The workers' compensation claims and bullying claims that I'm referring to are between the 1st of July 2022 and the 17th of February 2023.
Correct.
Yeah. So are these historical claims, or were they claims?
No, so in regards to the ones around the bullying, etc., they are what I call current claims. For example, and we are dealing with approximately about 40 code of conduct type investigations in the organisation.
What's the total staff?
3,500.
Thank you.
And so if I go back to even when the Broderick Review landed back in 2020, at that stage we were dealing with about 50 code of conduct investigations, and we had 17 bullying claims at that particular stage that were investigated,
right,
etc. So so that's the current ones, what I call on foot. Mm-hmm. In regards to the Comcare claims, they are current claims. There are 9 of them that are historical in regards to the fact that they revolve around the prescribed cancer legislation or the firefighting bill on exposure historically that are claims. So that's 9 of those 39. And just to give you an example, 34 of them involve aviation rescue and firefighting operations, and 27 of them are revolving around physical injury, people hurting themselves in the gym, etc.
You've got a gym?
Yes, there's prescribed by regulations that our firefighters need to have a gym for physical fitness.
Do you, Senator White? We have to have a gym? Sorry, what were you saying?
So, yeah, if you...
I just missed your comment.
They have a gym.
Firefighters have a gym?
Yep, they do.
Haven't you seen the calendars?
She has, but she's not owned up. Yeah, that's right.
Senator Chisholm, what are we going to do?
Because you're distracted.
Yeah, totally.
Like
10%.
politicians have a gym.
Sorry?
Like politicians have got
We
a
don't
gym.
have a calendar.
Clearly, and probably for good reason. Mr. Harfield, those claims are around 10% of your workforce. Would you say that is an acceptable 40 out of 3,500? Is that right?
40 out of 3,500 is 1%. It's just
Sorry,
on
and then
1%.
I've times it. Look, isn't that terrible?
It's 1%.
You're right. You're right. All good. Have you, in the briefings either that you or the chair have held with the minister, have you raised these issues?
Yes, Senator, we talk about our culture reform and the work that we're doing in culture, the budget review, the further work that we're doing and continuing to work on it, as it will always be a continuing journey.
And has she specifically requested updates from you? Or is that something you provide of your own bat?
We provide, there has been a request, there is a focus on that particular issue and it's part of our regular reporting.
Okay, I just wanted to go to some of the board appointments. So we discussed ad nauseum over the last nearly 48 hours with the department and assistant ministers the delays of board appointments by the government and this minister specifically over the last 12 months. And to be fair, the department, it's not as a result of their due diligence of putting forward suitable recommendations to the minister's inbox. So we welcome Senator Chisholm's appointment. Did you recommend people for the 2 board vacancies last year?
Yes, in the sense that we were requesting for extensions or renewals.
For both?
For both.
So we wanted both candidates, both Ms Bussell and Ms Brown, to be extended in those board positions.
That was the request, Senator.
That was the recommendation from ASA?
Yes.
Is it ASA's understanding that both Ms Brown and Ms Bussell wanted to continue to serve on the board?
Yes.
And that brief was supplied to the minister when?
I'd have to take that on notice because that's usually handled between the chair in the department and the minister.
Okay, right.
So the chair would normally make the recommendations to the department.
Yes.
And that would be forwarded through. I'd have to take it on notice.
But as his CEO, you would draft the and he would do the...
No, that would be handled by our board secretary, company secretary.
Okay, right. But is it your understanding that that's what was going to happen?
The understanding was that the request was that there was to extend both of those.
Yeah. So what happened?
Senator, I'm aware Anne Brown was reappointed and Sue Bussell wasn't. Has
Ms Bussell's position been filled?
That is currently being looked at the moment, which we have provided recommendations on to the department.
How you don't need to tell me who, but how many recommendations does the minister have?
We've got an upcoming vacancy coming up in
Another
June.
one on top
Another
of Ms
one,
Bussell?
and 2. So we have provided options for both.
How many options?
At least 4, is my understanding.
Right. When did that advice go to the minister?
I would have to. I have to advise when.
Or the department,
when it would directly went to the
board
department.
secretary.
Yeah, it would have probably been in the last 4 weeks. Is my understanding.
Okay. And when does that second vacancy occur?
In June.
June.
Late June.
And how long has Ms Bussell's seat been vacant?
Since December.
Did the minister give any reason for not reappointing Ms Bussell?
No.
Did Ms Bussell, in your opinion, fulfil her duties in an appropriate way in her time on the board?
Yes, Senator.
Was there any concerns raised about Ms Bussell's behaviour or commitment to the best outcomes for Airservices Australia?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. I'll have some more questions on notice. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.